Now, a weather alert from the Fox 5 Storm Team.
All right, it is 7:30 here on your, well, this is today, Wednesday. Hard to keep track of the days now. It seems like everything is running together because we have been busy in the Fox 5 Storm Center tracking not only what's going on right now across Metro Atlanta and North Georgia, but what's to come here in the days ahead. A steady rain continues at this hour. This is Gainesville down through Lawrenceville, Atlanta, Noonan. The sun is setting, and when the sun rises tomorrow, the expectation is where the rain is falling, it is still going to be falling. What's happening is basically a cold front, that's what this is, has slid in from Alabama, and that really set the stage for some strong storms today in a handful of spots, but also is what's driving Hurricane Helene as that continues to move towards the north. We're going to answer some of your questions tonight. I know we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Fox Local. If you want to ask a question, Facebook is your place to go. That's where I'm going to be scrolling through the questions and getting to as many as I can. I know a lot of people are going to ask, well, what about my neighborhood? What about my city? We've got a lot of cities here in North Georgia, okay? We're going to try to do as best we can to pinpoint down exactly what's going to happen, or at least our expectation in your areas as best we can. But we got a lot of areas to talk about. And the first place we are going to start is down in Meriwether, Pike, and Upson counties. That is where we have seen a lot of rain already. Flash flood warning in effect down there. That is that green flashing box from Troup and Meriwether counties down into Pike, Upson, and then that extends back down near the Columbus area. Let me grab Fox 5 Live Viper here real quick, and what I want to do is actually show you how much rain has fallen in the past, we'll say 24 hours. There, and look at this. Let me turn off the loop here. So what you're looking at is anything above that yellow color there is 2 to 4 inches. Once you get into the oranges, that's the 4 inches. So all of this yellow down here, that's at least 2 inches of rain that has already fallen. We've seen that across the North Metro as well, from the Cumberland area on into northern DeKalb, Dunwoody, Gwinnett County, over towards Hall County, parts of Forsyth County, and then elsewhere this green is between, generally speaking, a ½ inch of rain. If you're in Eatonton, you're going, what rain, right? It's been to the west all day, and it's going to stay that way at least for the next little bit. And then we're going to be looking at the showers beginning to move in, and Eatonton's really going to be squeezed between the cold front and Helene as it moves its way in from the north. All right, so what I'm going to do is go through the forecast. We're going to talk about what Helene's doing right now, where it's going to go, the type of impacts here, and then as soon as I get through the forecast, and it's going to be pretty lengthy, we're going to get into your questions on Facebook. So 85-mile-an-hour hurricane. We are going to get a new update in at 8 o'clock tonight, or shortly before the 8 p.m. advisory. I would expect, this is not a guarantee, the hurricane hunters are looking right now, I would expect, though, that we're going to see this jump in intensity pretty quick. It's already got that look to it. It's over warm Gulf waters. 85 to 90 degrees is what the Gulf is, and that's plenty of fuel for this storm to work with. So today, it brushed by Cancun, right, and made its way through the Yucatan Strait, basically, from the western extent of Cuba over into Mexico. Now it's north of that and firmly into the Gulf, and the plan is, this is as of the 5 p.m. advisory, for it to become a Category 4 hurricane by tomorrow at 2 p.m. Now, the way the National Hurricane Center issues their cones is basically they do 12-hour stints, and they don't necessarily forecast in between those 12 hours. So, you know, there's 2 p.m. Thursday, and that is a fast-moving storm, and I'm going to explain why that's a problem here in just a moment. But what I want to emphasize is, if we have a 130-mile-an-hour hurricane Tuesday at 2 p.m., it has about 200 miles of nothing but warm Gulf water to work with before it makes landfall tomorrow evening, Thursday evening. Is it possible that this is a 5 when it makes landfall? Yes. Is it forecasted at the moment? No, but pretty close to it. And if it is that, you know, that's going to make our impacts even worse here in Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. Now, I pointed out the distance, right? It's a fast-moving storm. From 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. Friday, it covers that much area. Now, the reason why that is not good news for us is because the storm is not going to have a lot of time to weaken. As soon as it loses the Gulf water, it begins to dissipate. Every hurricane does that. It loses the storm food, basically, all right? But it is not going to do that over 12 hours. It's going to do that over 3 to 4 hours, because if it makes landfall at, 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow night, it's in Columbus by 2 a.m. So that is a fast moving storm, which means we are not going to have time for it to just peter out. And that's why our forecast is the way it is across metro Atlanta and North Georgia. The other thing is that notice how narrow the cone has gotten. Now, the cone is not based on the models, technically. What the National Hurricane Center does is basically pull out its forecast track and then says that's the margin of error. It stays within the center 2/3 of the time. So is it possible that the center finds its way into eastern Georgia? Yes. Is it likely? No. And that is the expectation. And I'll tell you what, the past couple of years, the National Hurricane Center has been fantastic in their tracks. And I would have a high degree of confidence in this. And this is important for us because that would be a westward tracking storm for us, which means we are on the east side of the storm, and that is not good news. All right. It's not every day you see this either. I was a little, not caught off guard. I did expect this, but I was a little, like when this came out, I was like, wow, this is actually happening. A hurricane warning, which is this reddish pinkish color here, is in effect from Panama City basically over to I-75 and then north. Valdosta, Albany, Cordele, Warner Robins, Macon is included in this, Bibb County, Bibb, Crawford over towards Talbot County. The hurricane warning, which is of where Fox 5 covers. We cover from the North Carolina-Tennessee state line down to Troup, Meriwether, Upson, Lamar, and Butts counties. It comes right up to that. For our area, we have a tropical storm warning in effect, which means winds will be between 39 and 74 miles an hour, and those are gusts, all right? So we're not going to be looking at a constant 60-mile-an-hour wind. It's going to be gusts of that as we find our way. And this is going to be moving through the winds, that is, Thursday night into Friday morning. So here is the forecast. This is from the National Weather Service. What you're not going to see me do tonight is use any models. All right. So we're kind of getting into the forecast stage now. The models, I think, are the details are a little too spread out to make it easy to understand. So I'm just going to draw stuff on a map based on the National Hurricane Center track and what we typically see with a track like that and what the models are basically telling us. So this still, references model data, but it's not explicit model data. We went in and drew this ourselves. You put a human brain behind it and you're going to get a better forecast. So 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, peak wind gusts, right? We're not going to be gusting to 60 the whole time, is going to be basically on the west, on the east side of the track as it comes in and then up into the mountains. Once you get into the elevation, that speeds up the winds a bit. 40 to 60 mile an hour, that's going to be the cutoff, Athens to Eatonton, and then that extends back into South Carolina and North Carolina. In fact, tropical storm warnings go basically to Charlotte. That's how big area-wise this storm is going to be in terms of the wind. The other thing that concerns me is the rainfall. Now, this rainfall forecast includes everything that we have seen today, which we looked at the totals. We have seen an inch and a half, 2 inches in several spots. When all is said and done, a big part of our area could see 7 to 10 inches, but what really concerns me about the rain is northeast Georgia. Union County, Lumpkin County, White County, Rabun, Habersham counties, and then up into North Carolina and South Carolina. That would be Lake Toxaway, Franklin, and up towards the Asheville area. Isolated 10+ inches. There are spots that will get over a foot of rain up there. And something that the National Hurricane Center is warning about that, to be honest, I have not seen before, is landslides in northeast Georgia. Now, I know they've happened up there on, once every 10 years or so, but it's not common, and it is rather concerning. All right, so here is the timeline. Let me break this down for you. This picks up at 12 p.m. tomorrow, all right? Damaging wind threat's going to be low. It's going to be gusty, but it's not going to be anything crazy. The heavy rain that we have out there right now, or the steady rain, that is going to continue through the overnight hours. It is going to be tomorrow evening, so that's 6, 8 o'clock. It's going to be around sunset tomorrow when the wind threat begins to pick up and the heavy rain continues to intensify. It's also going to be really tomorrow afternoon and into early Friday morning that the tornado threat will be around east of the center. Now, as you go to bed Thursday night and wake up Friday morning, I need you to have a way to receive severe weather alerts. This thing is going to be coming through while many of us are asleep. And while many of us are asleep, that's when the power outage risk really begins to kick in. You get that damaging wind threat to pick up. You're going to get trees falling, especially with the rain that fell today. That's really soaking the ground. and the trees still have leaves on them, which means it's not going to take that much to push several of them over. And here's the other thing I want to warn you about: the power outages. This is when we expect them to begin. I would also expect that they are going to be around for a while in several locations. And the reason being is because this storm is going to go straight up Georgia from south to north, which means Georgia Power is going to have a lot of restoration to wrap their hands around. And they're not going to be able to start as soon as the sun comes out. The reason being the wind on Friday is going to remain elevated. Now, we also have a flood watch around for the reasons I was talking about. Northeast Georgia is certainly a focal point, but widespread 5+ inches of rain. If you are near a creek or a stream that floods, I wouldn't say easily, but moderately easily. I would expect that to happen during Helene as it moves through. And the tornado risk, this is going to be dependent on the exact track. So this is a hypothetical situation. In fact, it's pretty close to the forecast right now. But if it takes a track, say from LaGrange to Carrollton up to Chattanooga, that puts the tornado risk into Metro Atlanta. If that track is, say, a little more over the Metro and up towards Canton and all that, that shifts the tornado risk further east. Now, say there's a world where the track shifts east, maybe 50, 60 miles, and it goes through Milledgeville, Athens, and over towards Clarksville. That is great news for us. Sign us up for that one, because that would shift the tornado risk back into South Carolina. But the National Hurricane Center track right now, this is it. This is from Chattanooga through basically Bartow County, Paulding County, and Coweta County. This is where the National Hurricane Center expects the exact center of the storm to come through, which would mean the tornado risk is in the metro and eastern Georgia. So here's what you can do right now. In fact, here's what I want you to do right now and tonight. Go outside. Anything that is loose, bring it inside. All right. That is sports equipment. That is a soccer goal. Put the soccer goal in the garage. That is a basketball hoop. Put the basketball hoop in the garage, or at least put it in a spot where it is protected. Your flower pots. All right. We're going to be looking at winds that are pretty strong. Your small flower pots might end up in the neighbor's yard if you don't pull them inside, or maybe just beyond your neighbor's yard. Your trash cans, please pull them inside. Those are light plastic. Those are probably going to be the easiest to blow around. Charge up your electronic devices and your backup batteries. As I was mentioning, I would expect the power outages to last a little while, and it might, you're going to want some battery if that's going to be the case, right? Have non-perishable food on hand, especially if, say you're all electric and you lose power, you're not going to be able to use your cooktop. All right. You're not going to be able to get water out of the fridge. You're going to want water bottles. You're going to want something to eat and drink for 3 to 4 days if you don't have power. Also, this is going to be another big one. Please move your cars into your garages. If you use your garage as storage, shove the stuff to the side and pull your car inside, especially if it is parked under trees. All right. I really think falling trees is going to be our biggest problem in the metro area. And if you can't necessarily pull it into the garage, the best place for the car is in an open parking lot with nothing over it, right? Nothing to fall on it, basically, at least for the time being. So here is your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast. And after we get through this, we're going to go to your questions on Facebook. All right. So Fox 5 Storm Alert days, Thursday and Friday, 100% chance of rain. I don't think I've ever put that on a 7-day forecast before, but I did go with 100%. And then Saturday and Sunday, anything we do see, any damage, any cleanup we have to do, the weather is at least going to be nice for it. Highs in the upper 70s. We'll call it partly cloudy. Get into the 80s next week. And here's the thing. We are going to continue updates on Fox Local tonight, also on YouTube, on Facebook, and then on my social media. I'm working on a big, long Facebook post, and we'll keep you updated there. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to pull up the Facebook stream, which I should have right here, and we're going to go through your questions. So let's see. All right, so now's the time to ask your questions. While that loads, I'm going to go reset the forecast real quick so that we can click through it once again and go through questions as we get them. In fact, I'm probably just going to pull up the track so that we can show this moving into Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. So there's that, and then let's come back over here. A little behind the scenes tonight. All right, so let's start big picture. Let's see what we got here. Is it going to hit Beaufort? Yes, it's going to hit Beaufort. It's going to hit all of North Georgia. Great question. What about living in an apartment complex? So in your apartment complex, I would be prepared to lose power. is going to be a possibility pretty much area wide. Another thing to consider is if your apartment complex has a parking deck and the gates are run by power, that would not be good, right? You might not be able to get out. Peanut butter and jelly diet till Monday. Those are two non-perishable food, or one non-perishable food. Let's see. What is your Facebook? You can just search Alex Forbes and it'll be there. In fact, it might be tagged here. Let's see. What is the risk for Polk County? So there is the chance that the center of the storm comes right over Polk County, in which case the winds could be as high as 40, 50, 60 miles an hour at their peak gusts. And we'll be watching for that, along with some heavy rain and some downed trees there in Polk County. Do you see the shifting any? I'm nervous in Haralson County. So here's the thing. This is the track right now, the cone from the National Hurricane Center. We have seen minor shifts, but nothing that is too major. And we're in a unique situation because any little shift has major implications for us. What I have seen is the National Hurricane Center consistently put the track west of Metro Atlanta, which means we are on the dirtier side of the storm. So I've not seen any major shifts from the really smart people who know what they're doing. Put it that way. Let's see. Are tornadoes always a problem on the east side? Like, is it highly possible? Yes. So I wouldn't necessarily say on the east side of the storm, but rather on the right side of the storm. So here's the thing. So the storm's moving like this, right? It's going to be on the right side. If you get say a westward moving storm, it would be on the north side. So it's not necessarily an east thing. It is an orientation of the storm type of thing. Metro Atlanta will be okay? Question mark. Not so much. I think we're going to be looking at wind gusts over 60 miles an hour for the whole metro, and some flooding rain's a concern as well. Let's see. Trailer homes. That is a good question. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you the information so that you can decide what to do. Trailer homes and 60-mile-an-hour winds don't get along well. It's that simple. If you have a permanent structure to spend Thursday night in, I would try to do that. That's not a bad idea. If you don't, we're going to be looking at that tornado risk, and trailer homes don't necessarily get along with tornadoes either. So I would do your best to find a place in a permanent structure to spend Thursday night into Friday morning. Take that for what you will. How do you think it will affect Forsyth County? That is where I am from. 60-mile-an-hour winds, rainfall 7 to 10 inches, and a lot of downed trees and power lines. Expecting to lose power there in Forsyth County. What is dropping it from a 4 to a 1? Any chance of it being closer to a 2 as it moves into Georgia? Great question. So yes, there's the Category 4 down there, and there's the Category 1. It is going to continue to intensify until it makes landfall, and then I would expect that it actually moves into Georgia and further north as a 3. So Thomasville down towards Bainbridge in that area, a 3, and then it will continue to weaken as it moves north. As it comes through the west side of Georgia, I would expect it to be at tropical storm strength Friday morning, which would still cause the wind gusts that we're forecasting here. Let's see. What is making it go east and then take a turn west? That is a great question because this is a really weird situation. So we have an area of low pressure that is right here, and we've got high pressure over the Atlantic. So what's happening is basically it's being squeezed between the two, and then as it's let go, it's actually going to spin around the low pressure. So what you're going to see is the low pressure slide to the south and the storm slide to the north, and what's called the Fujiwara effect is going to happen, and that is very rare. So from a meteorologist standpoint, it's very interesting to see that happen, and it's being squeezed like through a toothpaste nozzle. That is what's happening, and that's part of the reason why it's also moving so quickly, right? Think about squeezing out some toothpaste. If you squeeze it really hard, which is what's happening here, it's going to shoot out fast. It's the same physics. It's the same reason why the storm is moving as quickly as it is. Will it hit Rockmart or Dalton? It will hit both of those places. Let's see. When do we expect it to lower down on strength? At what point? Or will it be strong all the way through Georgia? We will expect the storm to begin to weaken as soon as it comes on land. But the thing is, a weakening Category 4 versus a weakening Category 3, that has strength implications in Georgia. If it comes ashore as a 3, it's not going to be as strong by the time it gets here. But if it comes ashore 4, which is what's forecasted at the moment, then it's going to be pretty strong when it gets here. Let's see. This weekend, I have to take a trip this weekend. Is that still okay? The rain is gone Friday morning. Friday's still going to be windy, but this weekend looks fantastic. Let's see. I know a lot of you are asking about specific locations, and we can go through this one more time before we sign off. So I'm going to skip the locations and go for the more generic questions, and we are going to go through. I'm going to show you all the maps before we sign off here in a little bit. Let's see. Are we safe until morning? Asks Trisha. So you are okay till the morning in terms of Helene. We are going to be looking at the steady rain sticking around. I wouldn't be surprised to see a few more flash flood warnings be issued here through the overnight. But in terms of the hurricane, we're okay for the time being. Let's see. I talked about the manufactured homes. How many hours of tropical storm winds should we expect in the metro area? About 3 to 4 hours, I'm thinking, and that's going to be from 1, 2 in the morning until 5, 6 o'clock. So maybe a little more. Those are tropical storm wind gusts. That's the thing. So the wind is not going to be, 60 miles an hour the whole time. Important to note that out. Let's see. What time does it start getting rough? It's going to be after sunset tomorrow night. And that should do it. So power outages, going to be a problem. Let's go through the forecast one more time before we sign off here. We've got a hurricane warning. This is going to be along the Florida Panhandle down into the peninsula, basically along Interstate 75 and to the west. And that now extends to the north all the way to Macon. All right, that's what, 200 miles almost. It's 170 miles from Macon to the Florida state line on Interstate 75. And that comes right up to the southern extent of our area right there. And then to the north, that's where we have that tropical storm warning. So everybody asking their locations, we are looking at tropical storm conditions everywhere across North Georgia. That is Dalton, that is Calhoun, that is Dallas, that is Haralson County, that is Coweta County, that is Monroe County, that is Newton County. This is everywhere. So if you're watching and you watch us regularly, we are forecasting tropical storm conditions. Here is the wind, all right, 60 miles an hour from northeast Georgia over towards Dalton, down to Carrollton, including LaGrange, the whole metro area. Okay, so everybody asking about Henry County, Clayton County, Fayette County, Cherokee, Forsyth, Cobb, Fulton, over towards Hall County, down to the south, Jasper County, Monroe County, 60+ mile an hour winds. 40 to 60 miles an hour, that's going to be eastern Georgia and then far northwestern Georgia, and it's going to be a fairly sharp cutoff once you find your way into Alabama, because that's where the center of the center of the storm is going to go like that, and that's the cleaner side of the storm over into Alabama. The rainfall, widespread 7 to 10 inches, isolated 10+ inches. The rainfall includes what we're seeing today, but it really concerns me northeast Georgia on into North Carolina and South Carolina. Now here's the other thing. The rain that falls up here has to find its way to the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. And it needs to come through Metro Atlanta and places around Metro Atlanta. So I would expect river flooding to be a problem as we go into the weekend. I would expect many flood gauges in northeast Georgia to be at moderate, if not severe flooding, and then for that to trickle down to the south, on top of rain that has already fallen down here. And here is that timeline, and we'll probably stay on this for the rest of our live stream here. Tonight and tomorrow, it's going to continue to rain. It's going to be a little gusty. That is not Helene. This is a cold front that's moving in and stalling out. It's one of the things that's helping to steer Helene, actually. And what we're going to be looking at really tomorrow is the afternoon, the impacts of Helene beginning to move in. That damaging wind threat picks up and the heavy rain threat picks up. It's going to be a consistent heavy rain. And then overnight Thursday into Friday, this is when everybody needs to be very weather aware. I know many of you are going to be sleeping. I will not. We are going to be looking at the wind threat at that time. That's going to be your 60+ mile an hour winds as the center moves through. So from 2 to 6 a.m. or so, that is also going to be the heaviest rain as the center begins to approach. That is when the tornado threat will be at its not maximum. I don't think there's really going to be a maximum tornado threat, but an elevated tornado threat from the evening into the overnight. that is when the majority of the power outages are going to happen. And we were talking about it earlier. The power outages have the potential to be expansive because everybody's getting the storm, and long lasting. The reason why they could be long lasting, this storm is going to go from basically the Tallahassee area, so cross into Georgia just north of Tallahassee, and it is going to go all the way through the whole state, which means Georgia Power is going to have a lot of down trees, a lot of down power lines to tackle, and they are not going to be able to start as soon as the storm clears. There is a world where Friday mid-morning, afternoon, you walk outside, bright blue sky. You're going, okay, they're ready to hit the ground running. If the winds are not below 20 miles an hour, which they are not forecasted to be Friday afternoon, we're still looking at a windy day, they can't put up the bucket trucks. They can't put somebody, up in the sky to fix the power line, and won't do that until it's safe to do so, for good reason. So there is a world where we are looking at several days of extended power outages in various pockets of North Georgia. Now, Courtney and I were talking earlier, there are certainly parts of Metro Atlanta that have power lines underground. You guys are lucky. That's not going to be as much of a problem for you, but a lot of the area does not. In fact, I'd say most of the area, the power lines are above ground, and we are going to be running into problems there. The flood watch continues to go through 2 p.m. Friday. Widespread 5+ inches of rain, flooding of area creeks, streams, rivers, roadways, low-lying areas, and especially northeast Georgia. That's going to be Union County, Lumpkin County, over towards Habersham County, and then up into really North Carolina and South Carolina. That goes through 2 p.m. on Friday. The tornado risk, we were talking about it earlier, and in fact, let me just advance through this so that we can get to the expectation. This red line here is the exact forecasted track from the National Hurricane Center. Wherever the storm moves through, so as you're watching us tomorrow night, say the storm is trending a little further east, say it's coming through Monroe County, DeKalb County on into Cherokee County. That means the tornado risk is not going to exist to the west of it. But the expectation right now is that we are looking at the chance of tornadoes basically from Dalton through Dallas, Paulding County, Cartersville, down through Noonan and down towards Woodbury, and then areas to the east. That is most of Metro Atlanta. That is Cherokee County. That is Fulton County, DeKalb, Gwinnett, Hall County, over towards Newton County, Morgan County, Jasper, Putnam counties, Clark County, Athens in this tornado risk. And that is how we're going to really decipher, what's going on across the area in terms of the tornado threat. So tonight, go outside. All your outdoor objects that are loose, bring them inside. Your flower pots, your patio furniture, your sports equipment, your trash cans, your light plastic trash cans that can easily end up in the neighbor's yard, bring them inside. Charge up your electronic devices, your batteries. I know some people have some medical equipment that require power. I would be making plans right now to keep the power going to the medical equipment. Have non-perishable foods on hand. That's peanut butter, that's crackers, that's something that doesn't need to be stored in a fridge, and it's okay to lose power and have the food be okay. Also, food that doesn't need to be cooked. If you lose power, your microwave's not going to work. If you don't have gas, your stove is not going to work if it's electric, right? Also, move cars into garages, away from trees and under cover. We are going to have a lot of falling trees across Metro Atlanta, and it would be great if your car was not in the path of said falling tree. I know it seems like this happens every time we see a tree fall on a car and somebody said, I should have moved it. Well, here's your warning, move your car, all right? Just stay away from the trees. The best place is park where there is nothing above it. That could be an open parking lot. That could be your driveway if there are no trees right there. That could be on the street. It depends on what's closest around you. So we're going to, give you that advice there. All right, before we leave you tonight, here's what's going on right now. We've got a steady rain across Metro Atlanta and North Georgia, a flash flood warning down to the south. This rain is going to continue. This rain is not Helene. Helene arrives tomorrow, and that's going to bring the threat of even heavier rain across the area. That's going to bring the threat of the gusty winds. That's going to bring the tropical tornado threat. All of us are working tomorrow on the Fox 5 Storm team, so you're going to want to check back for updates, and we are going to have you covered overnight Thursday into Friday. That is the time when you need to be most weather aware. Any questions, come to us here at Fox 5. You can check for updates on Fox Local. I'm also working on a really big Facebook post on my page. You can search Alex Forbes, and it will come up. I'm also on Instagram at @AForbesWX, working on some stuff there as well. And we're going to keep you updated here at Fox 5. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, be sure to download the Fox Local app. That's where updates are going to continue tonight. And we will see you again on Fox Local coming up here at 8:30.